listening to the Rapport Podcast Network.
It is now week 9. Oklahoma is not looking good. New offensive coordinator, all that fun stuff. There's a lot of changes, a lot of newness around the program right now. Let's get to it. We're going to talk about Oklahoma versus Ole Miss, going to Ole Miss on the road in SEC play. It's going to be a fun one. Let's talk about it anyways. Let's get to it here on Sooner Spotlight. What is up, Sooner Nation? Welcome into another episode of Sooner Spotlight. We are live, so jump in the live chat. I apologize. My brain was not working this morning. We should have started about 18 minutes ago. We should have started, but for some reason I was thinking Eastern time, but because I've just been traveling all over the place lately, and so my time zones are all screwed up, all kinds of stuff. So I was thinking we're going to start it at we'll even start early, 10:30. That gives us plenty of time, so we're done before noon when the games start. But the games start at 11, so I don't know what I was thinking. We're going to make this one quick, a really quick preview getting into this game. And there's really not a whole lot that we really need to talk about, right? First and foremost, want to remind everybody, please, if you would, hit that subscribe button. It means a lot to me if you guys can hit that subscribe button. We started a tremendous growth when we first started this podcast, and it just kind of tapered off. And so if you guys would hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, that helps us out greatly. You can comment down below. Share this on social media. Share it with a Sooner friend of yours, a fan group, something like that. Just anything you can do to get the word out there about the podcast. We appreciate all of it so much. But let's go ahead and get into it. I guess one more thing. I need to keep myself in a loop. We hurried up and started this real fast because it was on me. I was totally planning on starting and being done around 11:30, and then I realized, wait a minute, I'm in Central Time Zone. I've got to get this thing going right now. So anyways, go ahead and go over to SoonerSpotlight.com. So SoonerSpotlight.com. You can check out everything we've got going over there. We've got a merch store, all that stuff. That's a great way to support us. Since there's not really another way to support us here on YouTube just yet. So please, if you would, go to SoonerSpotlight.com, check out everything we've got over there, and we'll keep you guys updated and everything. And you can follow me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at RealJoshMahler as well. But let's go ahead and get into the preview of this game. 5-2 Ole Miss. They had a disappointing loss earlier in the season. I believe that was to South Carolina, and then they lost to LSU. And so now they're on. They're kind of on this projection right now where they really can't afford another loss. And excuse me, it was Kentucky that they lost to. They won against South Carolina in between those two games, but they lost to Kentucky, and then they had South Carolina and then LSU. So now they're going to go against Oklahoma as a 2-loss team. They've got 2 losses in conference. Oklahoma's 1-3 in the conference. We're just not looking good. We already talked about losing Seth Luttrell and getting rid of him, and that's something, and I think losing Seth Luttrell, there's mixed emotions, right? We're upset about it. We don't want to see him go. He was a Sooner. He loved this program, and I think it hurts him more that it didn't work out than it did for him to leave, for him to be asked to leave. And I think it was something mutual, and in some regard, I don't think he wanted to leave, but I think he understood, it's time to go. I take the blame, and somebody's got to be the fall guy. We've got to find something to move forward because the Sooners really want to get something going. If we were able to win out, which I'm not optimistic about that at this point in the season, if we were able to win out, then we still have a good season ahead of us, and at the very least, we can build going into next year. That's kind of where we're at, right? So anyways, we already talked about that. Go ahead and go back and check that out if you haven't already when we discussed Seth Luttrell leaving. But going into this Ole Miss game, again, apologies. I know we're cutting it close to game time, so I'm sure we might be missing out on some of our normal viewership just because of that. But going into Ole Miss is a pretty good team this year. They're very good offensively. They've done pretty well, being able to score pretty efficiently. and just scoring at will, it seems like, even though they haven't put up crazy big numbers in the SEC. I know they've only scored 20, 27, and 26 in the SEC. Sorry, 17, 27, and 26 in the SEC. But overall, we know what Lane Kiffin's capable of. We know that Jackson Dart has looked quite a bit better this season than he has in years past, even though I feel like he's kind of had slow moments, not being able to live up to the hype in certain moments for sure. But overall, yeah, I mean, I look at where Ole Miss is. I just don't know of a way for Oklahoma to truly win this game. And it's tough talking about Oklahoma and feeling like a Debbie Downer on Oklahoma. That's not at all what I'm trying to do. But I look at Oklahoma and where we're at right now. We don't have a good running game. We don't have a good passing game. I don't know how the offense can keep up. I don't know how the offense can do anything to help the defense out. And we've been talking about this over and over and over again all season long. Yeah, I mean, it's been pathetic for Oklahoma, to say the least. We know this. We know that Oklahoma should be better, and it's disappointing. And we can blame a lot. We can blame a lot on injuries. We really can, and I understand that. And it's disappointing that the injury bug hit us so much on the offensive side of the ball. And it's pretty evident that it didn't really affect us defensively, and that's a good thing. We rank in the top 50 in most categories over on defense. Still only allowing 21.3 points per game, which is kind of unfair to this defense because I don't think the defense has allowed that much. And on top of that, you look at other defensive stats like, how the defense has been able to hold up in the red zone or even on their own side of the field. And when they have a full field to work with on defense, they're able to keep teams out. We go back to last week against South Carolina. There was only one scoring drive that the defense allowed a touchdown when they weren't backed up into their own territory, a score at all. And so, it's just things like that where this defense has really been up. They've been kind of pushed back on their heels, really in the last two games especially. And the offense has had no answers. We tried changing out the quarterback. I said early in the season that's not going to be the answer, but I'm okay with us going that way. And I understand why we would try to move something out and try something different. You've got to try new things, and I totally get that. I understand that. I understand why we went that route. It didn't work. And then it was very evident to me in the Auburn game that, hey, this wasn't the right move. What the right move would have been was changing up the offensive scheme, changing up the way that we're utilizing these players, recognizing that we have an offensive line problem right now. And, that's something that it just seemed like we didn't try doing. We didn't ever try to change up the things that we were doing, the way that we were doing it. There's a lot to the equation. And yes, when you're out your top 5 wide receivers and you're down to your 6th, 7th, 8th string wide receivers, there's a problem there. When you've got a standout like Jacob Jordan coming out all of a sudden here against South Carolina, there's a problem here when he's coming out in week 8 and we've got this star in a position group that we need the most, and all of a sudden he's coming out in week 8. That's a problem. So there's a lot of problems with this offense. Maybe some of those problems can be solved with a little bit of a changeup. Maybe some of those problems can start to look better with a little bit of a changeup. With Oklahoma, I'm just not sure that's. I mean, we're struggling to make a bowl game the way that this team looks right now. That's the problem with Oklahoma, and it's a tough position to be in as an Oklahoma fan, right? And so we look at this, we look at where they're at overall. We know that we have the defense that could lead us to a couple of more victories. And you know what? We have a defense that ultimately could lead us to an 8-win season. We have a defense that's capable of doing that, but we just don't have the offense. And that's a frustrating thing to look at. That's a frustrating thing to know as an Oklahoma fan. Real quick, I see William jumping in the chat. Good morning. Good morning, William. It's great to see you. And like I said, we started this a little late in the day, and we weren't thinking about it. I was thinking we were in Eastern time for some reason, and I'm not. I'm in Central time, so I don't know. It's been all of the traveling that I've had recently, but it's good to see you, William. And it's good to be game day, right? I'm still excited. I'm really hopeful for the Oklahoma Sooners here today. it's not going to be a normal pregame show just because we're such big underdogs. We're 19-point underdogs right now and going into this game. I believe it had opened up at a 20.5 point favorite for Ole Miss. And it's a really tough spot as an Oklahoma fan to see your team in this position, and it feels worse than we did in Brent Venables' first year because we understood that there was going to be growing pains back then. At this point, we understand that the injuries are a big problem, but there's been so many things outside of the injuries that have been bigger problems that, with those injuries, we still shouldn't have lost to South Carolina, and we should have been closer with Tennessee. And with Texas, sure, I mean, maybe we can let up and say that maybe we would have lost that Texas game regardless. I don't know. I'm not really willing to admit that. I think we had a chance if we would have been able to perform better, if we would have made the correct changes in that game, then it feels like that game would have gone different, at least much closer, right? We should have beat South Carolina. That was one of them that I thought was a gimme earlier on in the season, before the season started, before seeing the offensive struggles. The offense has struggled so bad that it's tough to look at any of these games going forward, other than Maine, and thinking that we can win. I know we don't want the team to look forward, but as Oklahoma fans, we can look forward. We can hope for a win today. I'm not super hopeful on it, but we can hope for a win today. We can hope for it. And, going forward, let's look at what we've got here, because we've got Maine next week. If we don't win that, then I'm shutting the TV off for the rest of I'm shutting my internet off. We're not doing anything Oklahoma football for the rest of the season if we lose to Maine, because I just can't handle it if that happens. Anyways, we should beat Maine, who's 4-3, matching our records. So let's just throw that out there. And then we've got Mizzou, who I think we have a chance to beat. That's really the only one on our upcoming schedule that I think we have a chance to beat. And then we've got Alabama at home and at LSU. I just don't know. I mean, I think, sure, if we can find some sort of rhythm and all of a sudden we just pull something out of our butts, that we could do something on offense to compete in any of these games, specifically LSU, Alabama, and Ole Miss here today. I just don't know that that's the case. I think when we look at it, it's going to be tough for Oklahoma to find anything. I know that we've got a change, and I'm excited about Kevin Johns specifically. I think Joe John, Joe John Finley, I think he's going to try to change some things up, and I do have faith that he's going to try to mix things up and make this offense start to just look a lot simpler. And he does come from the Jeff Lebby coaching tree, so maybe Seth Littrell, because Seth Littrell, it was admitted that Seth Littrell took most of the responsibility for this offense, and he took most of all of the play calling, all of that stuff for himself, and we saw a little bit of a change against South Carolina, and that was just an implosion on the field by the players, specific players. The obvious one, Michael Hawkins Jr., the offensive line, just completely imploding, and then there was even some play calls that still just didn't feel right. Why are we running the ball on 1st and 10? Why are we passing the ball on 1st and 10 when the running game has been working to the outside? Why do we keep on running that inside zone when we know it's not going to work, when we know it hasn't worked all season long, unless we're running it with Taylor Tatum and we don't put him in the game very much? We are out on the injury report, and we are out some bigger players. Still Gary and Hatchett out. That was obvious. Gavin Sawchuk out. A lot of questions about him. What happened? Apparently it was something that happened pre-game, and then it kind of even got a little bit worse this week. So he is out. And then, we've got Deion Burks, who thought maybe he could be out there, and then pre-game just didn't feel like it was right. And then he had something happen this week that went from questionable to out. So now we have no Deion Burks. We're down. We're down and out. We're down bad. The injury report isn't as long as it has been all season long, but we still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wide receivers. Then we've got 2 DBs when you can consider Kendall Dolby and Gentry Williams. We've got Gavin Sawchuk out, Gary and Hatchett out. So at least we don't have any probable or questionable. None of that. We're very certain that these guys are out. And so, at least we've dwindled that injury list down that much. But it's tough to win games when you've had the injury bug that Oklahoma has had, and that's 100%. That is part of it. But as Oklahoma fans, we can't blame the injuries for the reason that we've lost, and we understand that. We know that. But it's been a frustrating year, to say the least. You go forward into this game and looking at what Oklahoma brings to the table. I don't know. I mean, we look at Ole Miss. I can pull up Ole Miss and say that they rank 19th in the nation in points per game on offense. They rank 3rd in the nation in total yards per game at 525 yards per game. 5th in the nation in passing per game. So I mean, that's some big numbers to look at. And of course, on defense, they rank 4th in the nation in points allowed per game. That's pretty good news for them because guess what? Oklahoma ranks 93rd in the nation in points per game on offense. So, yeah, I mean, this matchup is so heavily against Oklahoma, it's not even funny. I'd love to hear your guys' score predictions. I know the poll, if you want to answer that poll that's over on YouTube right now, you can answer that poll. And I believe that poll, let's see, what was the poll question? Does Oklahoma score more or less than 20 points? Right now it looks like we're at 50-50. Whoever said less, I agree with you. That's kind of where I'm leaning right now. I think Oklahoma scores less than 20 right now. At this point, I don't see enough on offense, and now we fired our offensive coordinator. The good thing is that we can say, hey, maybe that sparks something in this team, and they recognize we're in deep crap, and we need to change something up, and maybe the players start performing better. Maybe they went about preparation different this week, and I have heard a lot of good things about how the locker room is feeling, about how the locker room is uniting around this change. So we can hope for better things. I just personally don't see it happening. This Ole Miss defense ranks 2nd in the nation in rushing yards allowed per game, and that's 73rd. 23rd in the nation, 73 yards per game allowed on Ole Miss's defense. They rank 23rd in the nation for passing yards allowed per game. That's 6.3 passing yards, per attempt, not per game. So I mean, they're a defense that has been very stout all season long. They're performing much better. Statistically, they're performing much better this season than they were projected to. And so I think this is an Ole Miss team that I thought was going to be pretty good. This was one of the losses on the season that I was predicting, hey, this is one that I'm just going to chalk up and say I think this is a loss. I believe preseason I thought that this would be a loss for us. I'm looking at this game and I really don't know a way that Oklahoma finds a way to win. The thing for me is that I just don't know where we can make things right. I'll start off by things that I think we need to do correct, and then I'll get into score prediction. I'll also bring up what my score prediction was preseason, and it's going to be much different than what it was preseason, very much different. But first of all, we have to find a way to run the ball. Last week, we were able to run the ball with Javonte Barnes, finding him on the outside. When he ran in the middle, it's not going to work. We need to stop that. We need to run to the outside, let Javonte Barnes get open space, and let him do that. I think we have to give Taylor Tatum the ball a little bit more. Caleb Hicks was seen on the field last week. I want to see more of him because he performed. I think he's hungry. I think he wants that time on the field, and I think he's going to perform if you put him out there. And we need to rotate these backs more often and make it unpredictable about when they're going to be in the game. And so we need to get, I don't care about one single, we kept on saying this all season long, we need one running back over 80 yards. We still have not had that a single game this season. I think Javonte Barnes had 71 yards last week, if memory serves me correctly. And he had a pretty good game last week. But we need to have a team that is able to run the ball effectively. And we need to be able to put up more than 150 yards rushing against this defense. I don't know how we do that against this defense because they are a very good defense, specifically against the run. They've got a very strong front seven, and we have a weak offensive line that looked atrocious last week, letting up a school record sacks for South Carolina. It was terrible. So we have to find a way to run the ball, run it efficiently, run it effectively, and run it often. Stop passing the ball on first down when it is working to run the ball. I want to set us up where we've got a 2nd and 7 at the very least. That's okay. I would much rather that than an incomplete pass on 1st down, and now we're sitting here at 2nd and 10. You're getting yourselves behind the sticks, and it starts with a running game. I think simplifying the offense is a big part of it too. And I want to see Jackson Arnold be able to air it out. I want to see us go deep. The way that we saw, there were several of them. I know we missed a few. We missed quite a few of them. And it was usually just because of bad pressure. It was because of a guy hanging off of Jackson Arnold's back. I want to see us go deep. I want to see us air it out to Brendan Thompson, Jacquez Petaway, and find those guys deep. You can put Zion Reagans out there and let him just blow the top off that defense. Do something, get down the field, and air the ball out deep. And I'm talking air the ball past 25 yards through the air. I want to see that several times today. That's the only way this offense gets chunk plays, is if we have big plays like that. And we can do it against this defense. I believe in that. I truly believe that passing the ball is how we do it against this defense, and passing it deep. I think we're able to do that. So that's a couple of things on offense that I'd like to see. I'd like to see us run a simplified offense that just looks rhythmic. I just want to see something work on offense, and I don't have high expectations because why should we? Over on defense, just keep doing your thing. Let's get back in there. And what we've seen in the past, not so much this season, Jackson Dart has been a very good quarterback this year, and I think he's exceeded my expectations. I think he's exceeded expectations for a lot of people throughout the nation. But what I want to see, because last year and the years past, we've been able to see pressure get to Jackson Dart, and he makes the wrong decisions. Let's get that pressure back there. I want to see us rush 5 all game long. Rush 5. And I'll say that again, all game long, every single play. You have to expect the run because they're a good running team. They know how to run the ball effectively. But Lane Kiffin likes to air the ball out, and he trusts Jackson Dart. So let's put that trust in Jackson Dart and get a few turnovers. We've got to win the turnover battle again, and that's a big part of it has been on the defense for the last 2 losses against Texas and South Carolina. A big part of that was because we lost the turnover battle. Now, it's not on the defense that we lost the turnover battle against South Carolina. That's terrible. You can't turn the ball over 4 times and expect to win a game. But for the defense, you've got to find ways to turn the ball over, and we just haven't been doing it in the last 5 games, really, it feels like. So you've got to find a way to turn the ball over. Those first 3 games, it seemed like we were able to seek after the ball. We were able to punch the ball out. We were able to get that ball back in the possession, back in the hands of our offense, and we haven't been doing that. We have to do that. We have to get 3 turnovers on defense today. And I see William Staggs even says defensive touchdown would be nice, but we need to win the field battle, the field position battle. Yeah, I agree with that. And we've got to find a way to turn that ball over on defense, though. It's got to be the thing. We've got to rise to the occasion today and really show out on defense. We've got to be that defense that we were last week against South Carolina, and a step forward from that even, which that defense outperformed. And it's pathetic for this offense to be performing as bad as it was. William says keys to victory: 1, win turnover margin. I agree there. Number 2, no 3 and outs, no more injuries, and then hold them to 20 points or less. I agree with you. Yeah, if we can hold them to 20 points or less, I think Oklahoma has a way, because if we held them to 20 points or less, that means we were owning the possession on offense, and we were able to. If we can keep them less than 20 points, I think we can score 20 points. That's just the problem. If they score more than 20 points, which I think they're very much capable of doing, even against our defense, then I think they come away with this win. But it's going to be a tough win for Oklahoma. It's on the road in Oxford. This isn't an easy place to play. It's not as difficult as places like Jordan-Hare, which we've already experienced. It's not as difficult as maybe I would even put up there. I would say currently as difficult as the Swamp, just because the Swamp's not very difficult. It might be a little more difficult than the Swamp right now, but the Swamp in its heyday, it's not as difficult as that. It's not as difficult as over there in Athens at Georgia. It's not as difficult as Knoxville or Tuscaloosa. So I'm just saying that it's not the most difficult in the SEC, but it's an SEC environment. It's still going to be very difficult to play. And in years past, Oklahoma has been known for these 11 o'clock games not showing up. And look at what happened last week. We play this early time slot, and we just aren't showing up. So what are we going to get? I'm going to jump over to my score prediction really quick. And again, I apologize that this was such a quick on-the-spot live show. We've just been really unorganized here, and we're going to get on top of that, get back on track. But my preseason prediction was that Ole Miss wins in a higher scoring game. I thought that this might be one of those games that Oklahoma's defense just doesn't hang in against Ole Miss. It's later in the season. I thought maybe they start to wear down a little bit at this point against this high-powered offense. I also thought that they'd be a higher-powered offense and less leaning on their defense for Ole Miss than they have been this season. So I said 42-35, Ole Miss wins the game. It's not going to be that high scoring. I know that for a fact because both defenses are much better. I want to lean on the under in this game. I'm not exactly sure. Let me see where that's sitting right now at 48.5, 49.5. I want to lean on the under in this game. I think we overall probably less than 50 points. But I think right now I'm gonna go with my gut and say Ole Miss wins 28-17. I think the offense might find some rhythm here and there, keep it closer than I think that 20-point spread. I don't think Ole Miss covers the 20 points, but that's probably my bias coming in there. Maybe they do. I'm going to say 28-17. Ole Miss wins this game. And, it sucks. I'm not going to be sugarcoating it anymore for Oklahoma. We're a bad team. We're struggling to find a bowl game right now. We need 6 wins. We're at 4. I don't know where those 2 wins are because I know there's one at Maine, so we're a 5-win team. Where's the second one? I think Missouri is the most likely, but can we beat Ole Miss? If we can get to 7 wins at this point in the season, it feels like a win if we're able to get 7 wins. If we were able to get 8 wins, that's right where I was hoping. Hey, that still feels like, hey, it's a deflated season. But if we were able to get an 8th win by upsetting Ole Miss, upsetting maybe Alabama or LSU, that would feel like, hey, we feel like we accomplished something whenever everything started to cave in on us, because we shouldn't have lost to South Carolina. Absolutely. Never should have lost to them. I don't care how good they are. I don't care who their coach is. I don't care about any of that. Never should have lost to South Carolina, and that was all because of the first quarter, going down to 21-0 really quick. That is unacceptable. And 3 turnovers back to back to back on the first 3 drives. That's why you lost to South Carolina. Nothing else matters in that game. Those 3 turnovers are why you lost to South Carolina. And it's bad. We're in a really bad position at this point in the season, and it all comes down to this. So we'll see where this game is. If Oklahoma can win this one, we're starting to feel optimistic that, hey, maybe we have a chance at an 8-win season. But it's very unlikely. I'm going to sound like an optimistic Debbie Downer, but you know what? We are going to get into basketball season soon. We'll talk about basketball season. We'll talk about softball season a little bit here, just to kind of pregame for that. We've got a lot of things that we're going to do here on Sooner Spotlight. It's not going to just be football, even though that's where it's been all season long so far. It's just football rules, the Sooner Nation. But right now we're worried about this game, Ole Miss, Oklahoma. It's going to be on here in about 15 minutes, so we're going to jump off of here. Appreciate everybody who was able to tune in. Again, go over to Soonerspotlight.com. You can follow me on X, formerly known as Twitter, at Real Josh Mahler. Check me out over there for all updates on the show and so much more. I appreciate all you guys for checking in late. Let's go over to Oxford real quick and beat up on these Ole Miss Rebels. We'll catch you next time. Boomer.